Spawn Respawn. I'm Elliot.
And I'm Kat. So, the two devs behind Glumberland Studio, Perklamps and Non-Player Cat, came out with the most condescending and egregious announcement this past week. So, buckle the funk up, because we're about to take you through this, and it starts as our stories often do, with a floss.
Left to right. Left to right. That's great content.
Everyone keeps talking about this Ooblets thing, so we thought we'd see what it's all about. Here's what those folks at Glumberland are doing. First, they make this amazing indie game, and now they're selling it to an exclusive store in exchange for cashola and loot boxes.
Give me your fucking money!
Basically, this is a HBO miniseries of deplorable and unfortunate mistakes. But first, we need to make a disclaimer of love.
I love you, bitch.
Seriously though, indie devs deserve all the funding they can get.
Epic Exclusivity is a great way for indie developers to fund their projects, and Ooblets is a charming little title that definitely deserves it. However, this is not how you talk to your fan base!
We're gonna kick it off with mistake number 2. Perklamps started off his announcement with a particularly piss-poor analogy, comparing exclusive game launches to things that seem similar, but in reality aren't at all.
And this is what he said. Just imagine if other companies got it in their head to offer funding in exchange for exclusives. What would be next? Game consoles paying for games to be exclusive on their consoles? Netflix paying for exclusive shows? Newspapers paying for exclusive articles? It'd be some sort of late capitalist dystopia.
This is
Bad.
because the two issues are clearly different.
Xbox and PlayStation generally fund and publish all their exclusive IP, instead of sniping it away from storefronts where they've already been widely advertised. We've seen this with Borderlands 3, Shenmue 3 and Metro Exodus.
This analogy didn't work then and it doesn't work now, because it sucks.
Also, just because someone else does something doesn't make it right.
For example, some restaurants don't even pay their servers living wages, but you don't see me giving an extra 20% to the checkout Chad at Woolies just because he works in the food industry.
Yeah, fuck you, Chad. They then nosedive straight into full-on dick baggery with this one.
What it means for you. You'll have to install Epic Game Store if you want to buy Ooblets on PC. I know that's asking a lot, but I believe in you and your ability to download a free thing and create a user account. If you haven't already done so to play Fortnite, which I know you have.
And this is just plainly condescending.
First of all, I've never played Fortnite, and I think there's something to say about the Venn diagram of people playing chill farming games and online competitive multiplayer shooters not necessarily overlapping.
Ha! Got him!
Here, Glumberland tried to preempt the backlash by snuffing out the fire before the exclusivity deal exploded in their face. Problem is, they already stoked the shit out of it and continued to add fuel to the fire while trying to quell the situation. Take this highly antagonistic question.
Angry at Epic? Us? The world? Why yes, Glumberland. Now that you added a shot of urine to my morning cereal, I realise that I am, in fact, mad at all 3 of those things. You didn't have to be on the list, but here we are. Fully though, I signed up to their mailing list, and when I checked my emails that morning, as per usual, the first fully formed emotion I had that day was ooh.
Ooh. That question just invites anger, and then they give you reasons as to why you can't be angry.
The 3 reasons Glumberland says you can't be mad at Epic exclusives, or anything else for that matter, especially not their tone.
The Epic Game Store is new, and therefore can't be expected to have basic features, and any anger aimed towards Epic is moot. They try and explain the concept of fully formed features like we don't know how to make something. And yeah, they're probably right. I don't know how to make a digital storefront, but I'm sure a billion-dollar company probably should know how, with basic features such as a shopping cart. But again, semantics, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean Epic shouldn't have those features. Otherwise, people that just started making professional videos could be using star wipes and word art like they don't have to learn from other people's mistakes. They go on to say then that there's no extra cost to use Epic Game Store. The store and launcher just require a free sign up. It's not like having to pay for HBO and Netflix and Hulu to watch all the shows you want. It's more like just having to press a button on your remote to change between free TV channels.
So you can't be mad. It's free. It's just like switching TV channels. You're only allowed to be mad at one thing at any one time. And Glumberland give us some examples of what that can be. rights abuses.
The new desktop Twitter UI.
The final season of Game of Thrones.
All this time I thought I could be mad at more than one thing.
The problem with this is it undermines people's voices in the community, and whataboutisms are a terrible way of minimising people's opinions. Epic is also funded by Tencent, and they're just terrible. Kat, do you have anything to add?
I'm just trying to think of which one thing I should be mad about.
Credit where credit is due, this section of the post is really great. It straight up lays out the reasons in simple terms why they decided to go exclusive with Epic.
There's only one part of this section that I take issue with, and that's the part where they say, now no matter what, they know the game's not gonna fail. I don't know about you, but Anthem made a ton of sales, and I wouldn't call that endeavour successful in any way.
Tim Sweeney, CEO of Epic, came in to add his own fuel to the fire as well. People already hate your company, dude. There's no reason to be more antagonistic.
The next mistake they made was inviting people to come onto their Discord and then discuss the condescension that they had. Terrible idea by itself.
Glumberland figured the best course of action was to respond as unprofessionally and antagonistically as possible. Here are some examples.
Purplap started off by saying, I know it stinks to hear it, but sometimes the answer to, can I have it, is no.
He continued on with, I appreciate that it's frustrating, but you can't always get what you want. I really wish some of your parents had maybe just once told you can't have something, so it didn't take some random game developer trying to teach you that life lesson.
I realised that if you folks didn't have the foundational upbringing to understand the concept of not always getting what you want, I won't be able to instill it in you now.
Ugh, what a dick. Now those ones are pretty bad, in or out of context. It's just not an appropriate way to deliver a message.
And it's downright insulting.
But it gets worse. Oh boy, does it get worse. Honestly, the biggest reason we didn't do a Kickstarter is we didn't want to deal with entitled baby gamers holding even more power over us.
And my personal favourite, seriously, how do some of you people even tie your shoes? I don't, man. It's a zipper. People then try to salvage the conversation by coming in and saying, hey, maybe the tone was just misunderstood. But Purplamps decides to really double down here and dig himself a grave.
He goes on to say, the frothing anger over literally a free game launcher you don't like is proof that the tone matched the target of that tone, and that target is not the audience of Ooblets, who is honestly above that stuff.
Man, I wish we didn't take an Epic deal so we would have to care what all the entitled toxic gamers think.
No, I think the toxic, entitled gamers took it as directed at them.
I think if you take issue with the tone of our posts, you'll definitely take issue with the tone and content of our game.
The content of our game reflects us, in the same way us not bending over backward to baby gamers does.
I think you definitely wouldn't like Ooblets in general.
I do have to say, the tone of the blog post is absolutely the same in the game, so I think this was really valuable for you folks to find out sooner rather than later.
Non-player Cat then comes in with her first quote today. I don't understand what it is exactly that you hope to achieve by complaining about the tone of the blog post. Like, if you don't like our personality or our style of writing, that's totally fine, but we can't really help you there. This last one in particular is a huge cop-out. You absolutely have to take responsibility for your words.
Especially after you reinforce your point time and time again.
I think right about here it pays to mention that after all of the above, Glumberland got stomped in some pretty horrendous ways. We've elected to not include any of the downright disgusting things people have said to the devs, not only because it's so horrible that it doesn't deserve the light of day, but also because it's not what we're here to talk about.
It is, however, important to note that Glumberland received tens of thousands of messages that can only be described as harassment, such as friggin' death threats, to the point that Epic Games released a statement about misrepresentation and abuse. It's important to know this because it's influenced their most recent mistake.
5 days after the initial Ooblets announcement, Purplamps released a blog post detailing how their week had been.
A lot of it talks about how horrible it is to be on the bad side of the internet, and how it was all just a big mistake. Repeatedly, he used the terms mistake, miscalculation, and misunderstanding to excuse his own behaviour and demonise the people attacking him and his partner.
Thing is though, they don't need to do that. Any rational person wouldn't side with the insults that have been hurled at them anyway, and rewriting the story so they seem better actually makes them seem worse.
For example, Perplants denies any semblance of responsibility or intention behind the rude and condescending tone in the original announcement by saying, "That's why we were totally unprepared for the attention we got from the broader gaming/internet community, which is fueled by a deep misunderstanding of the tongue-in-cheek tone as condescending and patronising." But didn't he repeatedly say he was being taken as intended?
Yeah, he did. Later, Perplants then goes on to say this. I recognise that none of this post equates to an apology anyway that a lot of the mob is trying to obtain, and that's by design. While some of what I said was definitely bad for PR, I stand behind it. And no, they definitely did not deserve the amount of vitriol that was sent their way, but that doesn't excuse their mistakes or mean they can't take responsibility for throwing the first stone here. In bare bones terms, they don't deserve criticism because they're the victim of online abuse. And there's no denying they are the victims of online abuse, but that doesn't clear their slate of the things they did wrong. They're two separate issues, and as we discussed earlier, I can be mad at two things at once.
I don't have to choose between being disappointed about your behaviour and being disgusted at the people harassing you. I can multitask. They aren't equal, but that's okay. Accept your onus and move on.
Unfortunately, this denial of responsibility has sparked up the fire again, as it was finally dulling down, so I don't imagine this will be the last we hear of the whole debacle.
Finally, that leads us back to mistake number 1. Not having a PR person!
All of this could have been avoided if they just had a PR person, or even if they just had someone check over the post before they hit publish. As we said earlier, they had good reasons for choosing this exclusivity. They just gummed the whole thing up with mucky sludge.
So please, if you're about to announce Epic exclusivity, learn from Glumberland's mistakes and just don't do this. Epic exclusivity for indie developers should be celebrated. And just like Epic didn't have to release without industry standard features, you don't have to start from scratch and dig yourself a PR hole too.
The fuck you say to me, you little shit?
Thanks for watching our first recorded video. We're trying out some new things, so let us know in the comments below if you have anything we should try.
And don't forget to check out Spawn Respawn on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We do a podcast every single week. We'd love for you to check it out. Follow us on Twitter at SpawnRespawnPC as well.
We'll be around on the socials, so if you have any thoughts about this whole Ooblets thing, let us know.
And don't forget, be nice to each other on the internet.